Hello, everyone. Welcome and welcome back to some familiar names that I can already see popping up in this session. As you all know, or maybe some of you don't, my name is Iris, and in this session, I'm here with Marieke, Amy, and Sybe. Amy and Sybe will tell you a little bit more about life as a student at UCG, and Marieke and I are here to monitor the chat box. In case you have any questions, feel free to drop them in there. This session will be recorded just as the other sessions, so if you want to rewatch this session, feel free to check the website somewhere later next week, because we will upload all the sessions of Digital UCG over there. Is there anything else I forgot? I'm just going to check if there are other people still joining. There are, and I can see loads of you in here already, so welcome to all of you. It's great to see so many of you. While we wait for some others to join, and some of you might already know what I'm going to say, but we are here based in the Netherlands, in Groningen, and it is 7 o'clock in the evening here now. But of course, I know that so many of you, or some of you, are joining from other parts of the world and other time zones. So please let us know in the chat box where you are all joining from. I would be really interested to know that. So far, we've had people from everywhere, basically. So let us know in the chat if you want to, of course. Don't feel, if you don't feel comfortable sharing that, it's also fine. Romania, Munich. Oh, perfect. Very international. Hungary. Wageningen. Welcome back. Los Angeles. Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. Australia. That's amazing, guys. China. Hungary. Heerenveen. Oh, that is well, and that also kind of shows Geneva. Wow, that shows also kind of the international community that we have at UCG. I'm sure Amy and Sybe will tell you much more about that, and I will stop talking for now. So I will hand the floor over to Amy.
Thank you so much, Iris. I did just want to start with a little preface. First of all, hi guys, welcome. As Iris said, it's lovely to see everyone. As you might be able to hear by the sound of my voice, I am slightly blocked up, which means that it may happen that I might have to take a cough break. If that happens, I'll mute myself for a few seconds. I'm not done talking to you. I just need a moment to pause. And if I'm having a cough break, maybe that's a good time to grab a drink or whatever, because that's probably what I'll need. So yeah, if I happen to mute myself for about 30 seconds, it's just because I need a moment. It's not because I don't have anything else to say. So with that little disclaimer done, welcome. Nice to see you guys all here. With my presentation, I'd like to offer you guys the perspective of an ex-UCG student, explain to you guys my reasons for coming to UCG, my experiences studying here, as well as how I'm taking what I learned into the next steps of my life. So if you're sitting here today, it's very possible that you're in a similar situation that I was in, I think 5 years ago at this point. Man, every time I do these, I have to like add an extra year, an extra few months. It always makes it reminds me that I'm getting older. But anyway, about 5 years ago, I had to decide what I was going to study full time. That's a very daunting task at any age. But when I was about 15 or 16, that's when I started to feel some pressure that I had to start deciding on a topic that I had to stick with for the rest of my life. So I was in high school in France, where my older siblings chose the science track, which is seen as the most prestigious one. And I followed in their footsteps, and that was the track that I followed. So when I was looking for universities, I was unsure of what I wanted to do, but I knew that I was intrigued about the way the world worked, how things work. So I decided that I would figure out how things worked by studying matter and its motion and its behavior through space and time. So practically what that means is that I moved to Groningen 5 years ago now to study physics at the Faculty of Science and Engineering. However, after only a few months, I wasn't enjoying my courses and I was failing. Sometimes I was studying like 10 hours a day for an exam, and still only getting like 1 or 2s out of 10s, which for those that don't study in the Netherlands, that's the grading system in the Netherlands, it's out of 10. And obviously, if I'm here talking to you guys tonight about UCG, you can probably figure out that studying physics did not work out for me. So that happened, and I was faced with the question, what was I good at? What did I want to do with my life? I'd been stuck on the science track for so long that I didn't really have any idea of what I liked. And I also had the problem that I'd fallen in love with beautiful Groningen, and I didn't want to move and I didn't want to start all over again. So very luckily for me, I found out about UCG. And I very quickly realized that I would not have to leave Groningen, and I also would not have to immediately decide what direction to go into. Indeed, at UCG, I would have the opportunity to explore a variety of topics without having to commit to any of them immediately. So I applied, and I got in. So in September 2018, I started at UCG, moved to Furnished, and experienced all that you guys will go through next year. Some of you may be wondering how UCG could help me move away from physics and figure out what I wanted to do instead. Well, UCG recognizes that students tend to change their minds. So, cough break, sorry. Okay, we should be good to go. UCG recognizes that students tend to change their minds about the paths of their study as they begin college. So the program at UCG has been built to encourage exploration, especially in the first year. Unlike other programs, it's not required to declare a focus upon entry, and you won't experience any study delays if you change your mind in the first year. For example, for me in my first year at UCG, I thought I was interested in sociology because I was curious about how the world worked. So I thought maybe I'm interested about how people work in the world. However, I took one sociology course, and I very quickly figured out that that wasn't it either, which was fine. Freaked out for a few days. Decided to switch my approach. I signed up for a culture course for the next block, which I really ended up loving. So I really had that room for exploration, and it really allowed me to discover what I do enjoy and what I don't. And that's what's so great about UCG. Indeed, the UCG program has an unprecedented level of freedom, including the only free major, that's what we call it, available amongst the Dutch University College system, which means that you can basically build your own program based on your interests, and you can combine topics that others might not see going together. For example, I had a friend who decided to take various humanities and biology courses because she was interested in the role that art can play in treating or managing certain medical conditions. You might have heard of art therapy, and so that intersection was something that she built for herself through her free major. Indeed, at UCG, you can combine all of your interests, maybe discover new ones, or forego ones that don't actually work out, such as in the case of sociology for me. I also chose UCG due to the emphasis on teamwork. Indeed, I feel that working together is the best way to reach innovative and creative solutions. Project-based learning is really emphasized, which helps you reach more creative solutions because working with others forces you to think about things differently. This emphasis on teamwork also allows you to develop yourself personally, since knowing how to effectively communicate and collaborate with others is an essential life skill. Starting at UCG also means moving to Furnished, our housing complex, just beside the train station in Groningen. Compared to the other university colleges in the Netherlands, you have guaranteed housing for all 3 years, which is very helpful to know that you have the security to rely on, especially when you're trying to figure out all of these other facets in your life. I know that moving to a new place can be scary, especially if you've lived with your parents your whole life, such as I had. Sharing spaces such as the kitchen and the bathroom can be challenging. In Furnished, I shared the kitchen and the bathroom with 7 other people. And that number of people can be complicated. If you're like me and you're not at all a morning person, having to interact with others during breakfast can prove to be a bit hard. So you would think that having many night owl flatmates with a similar rhythm would be preferable. which honestly is mostly true until it's about 8 p.m. and there are 6 people trying to make dinner at the same time. And I say that like it's a bad thing, but in all truthfulness, all cooking together and having the opportunity to hang out outside of class is something that I really treasure from my time in Frascati. I really enjoyed my time there at Frascati, and I made some really great memories and friendships. My closest friends now were my flatmates in Frascati, as you can see from this picture. 3 of us lived in the B3 unit, and my other 2 friends lived in the units just beside us, so the A3 unit on the same floor and the B2 unit just below us. And of course, we were always in the B3 kitchen just hanging out. As mentioned before, UCG allows you to explore your options before having to stick to one specific track. As you might know, we have 3 main disciplines, or tracks, and then of course the free major option. Within these 3 main options, within these 3 main disciplines, we have different options available, as you can see from my glorious chart. In my second year, I decided that I wanted to follow the international business and entrepreneurship specialization, which it's a long title. It won't even fit in my box properly. But yeah, what that means is that with this specialization, there's a bundle of courses that you have to take to receive the specialization title. However, when I got towards the end of my 3rd year, I realized there was one course from the specialization I was following that I wasn't actually interested in, and it also wasn't particularly relevant to the master that I was going to apply for. So I decided I was going to drop the specialization title and rather just take courses. Sorry. So yeah, drop the specialization title and take courses that I was interested in. So in the end, I graduated with the more general social science track, no particular specialization, which is also totally possible because UCG gives you the freedom to explore and change your mind if needed. Honestly, the previous slide shows the tracks as very distinct, but in reality, there's a lot more possible overlap, which adds to the richness and the interdisciplinary aspect of the program. The projects are one place in which this interdisciplinary aspect really is developed. If we've done our job right, you've heard some key terms about studying at UCG, like interdisciplinary, project-based, and small-scale education. And yes, they are good words for our marketing team, but they also ring true in my experience. Indeed, UCG has projects throughout all 3 years, with increasing levels of interdependence and freedom to develop your own project. I still remember my first year project, called Once Upon a Time, of which you can see an extract on the screen. The project focused on stereotypical gender roles and race representation in children's literature. It combined knowledge from children's psychology, the arts, media studies, as well as gender studies and race theory, which of course makes it very interdisciplinary. We worked in a team of 5 to come up with solutions to this problem. And as a group, we ended up writing a children's book, which presented a variety of characters with non-conforming racial and gender roles to show children, and hopefully their parents, that people do not need to be put in boxes. And quick break. I found the project very fun and very creative. Very creative to produce, which honestly, it was something that I was initially worried about. I don't consider myself to be a very creative person. But since writing and creating this book, I've actually gotten into painting and I've discovered this creative side of myself.
I think Amy is experiencing some minor reconnection issues. I can see she's reconnecting. Okay, let's give it a little while, some minutes. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat now. Maybe we can already go over some, but I can see, let's see. And let's see if Amy is coming back. All right, let's for now switch over to Sybe's presentation, and when Amy gets back, we will start when we left.
Yes, let me check if everything is working. Okay, this seems to be working fine. Okay, then I'll start with my part. So, hello everyone. My name is Sybe. If you all can quickly tell me if my camera is working, because for me it shows a black screen. Okay, great. Well, my name is Sybe. I'm a second-year student. I'm in the class of 2023, which means I will, if I stay on track, finish the liberal arts degree next year. Today, I will give you a small introduction to the UCG life, and I will also, with this presentation, show you a little bit of my journey through UCG. So let's go. Yeah, at first the introduction and what I did before UCG. So because I am a Dutch person from a very small town, maybe the Dutchies here know Brummen. It's very close to Zutphen, and also close to Arnhem for the people that know the Netherlands. In my secondary school education, I did VWO with the track Economy and Society, and in this I did Mathematics A. For the people that want to see, I also have a link to a website that shows what the VWO translates to in different countries. I can send that after the presentation. And yeah, as you can see right now, I'm following the PPE track in UCG, which is the Politics, Philosophy, and Economics track. It's one of the specializations in the social sciences. Yeah, one interesting part is my journey to actually getting into UCG. Yeah, still when I think about it today, it's one of the weirdest stories, and I feel very ashamed how it happened, because I was really doubting in between Utrecht, University College Utrecht, and Groningen. But at the end, I really wanted to go to Groningen, because after the open day, the general vibe of UCG here was just better than I had in Utrecht. But I already applied to Utrecht, and I didn't realize that in Groningen it was numerus fixus. So then I got into Utrecht and I canceled that one, and then I went to try for Groningen, and because it was numerus fixus, I was not in. But then I got lucky because of the Corona situation. There were less internationals going into UCG, and because I did a bilingual secondary school education where there was a more emphasis on English speaking, I could show myself in the interview to UCG, and in the end I'm here as a second year liberal arts student in Groningen. So yeah, why did I choose UCG? First, I want to address the kind of stereotype people have with UCG, plus the thing that always happens to liberal arts students. It's whenever somebody asks to you, what do you study? And you answer liberal arts and sciences. Oh, okay. Yeah, in this case, numerus fixus is the same as selective, just to be clear on that. So it means it's like with a fixed amount of people. But yeah, to address the stereotype of UCG, people, when they hear the word liberal arts and sciences, you always get, I didn't know you were interested in arts and arts culture. But yeah, that's always not the case. And then again, just like Amy said, liberal arts and sciences itself is more about the interdisciplinary approach. seeing how different disciplines work, while at the same time you could also still specialize. So what I do with PPE, I get courses about politics, philosophy, and economics, but still I also get this general UCG sauce with some courses like philosophy of science, for example, where you get a more meta perspective on what you're actually doing. For me, when I wanted to go to university, I felt that one discipline was a bit too constraining. So I first wanted to do psychology, then philosophy, even economics later. And every time I was at the verge of really going for one, I felt like, yeah, this is too constraining. And then I found out that liberal arts and sciences is a thing. And then that was the perfect choice for me, because you completely shape your own bachelor. So in the first half year in UCG, you get the choice to do some core electives. And in these core electives, you really learn how certain disciplines operate and how they think. And then you can already see, okay, for example, for me, there was one course called law, was called war. And in there was a lot of law. And I realized that that was not really something for me. And then later with media and technology, which was more philosophy, I realized that that was more of my thing. And then also, this is also what Amy said, really the project-based learning, working in groups. I already knew that I like to be in a social environment. And then as well that it was international, which made me, as a boy from a small town in the Netherlands, of course, it was very exotic to me. So that also made me feel quite cool. And then, oh yeah, the picture on the right, that is a kind of trip we did this year with UCG, with the study association linked to it, called Kairos, to the national park here in the Netherlands. That was really nice. And then, yeah, this is one of the projects we did. Unfortunately, there's no recording or something, but we did online theater, and we used a book from Sartre called Hell is Others, or L'Enfer c'est les autres. I hope there are no French people. That was probably horrible. And as you can read in the description, we tried to put the work of Sartre in an online environment. And then we did the play in Gathertown, which is this online environment. And in the end, it worked out, and we made something pretty creative and nice, and we were very happy with that. And along the way, you really make very good friends. So all of the people in this picture, I still see very often in the UCG canteen, and that's something that's really nice about liberal arts. You get to kind of work with almost everybody in your year cohort. So at the end of 1, 2, 3 years, you really get to know everyone, and that's very unique. You never have that with any degree almost in university. So I'm very grateful that that can happen. And yeah, that makes me very passionate also about UCG. It's one of the key assets, I think. And then we go to the benefits here. So in the beginning, it was mentioned that UCG is a top program, and you can really see this when you take another course at another faculty. I've taken a couple of courses at the Faculty of Economics and Business, and I can say that the courses over there, in general, they have around 250 students in every course. And because in UCG it's way smaller, it's 20, 30 students, plus you have teachers that are passionate, have a structured course, and are in general on top of their stuff. You really get to see back that this is a top program in that way. You have motivated students, motivated teachers, structured courses. Of course, it's still generally or relatively structured, because in university in general, you realize that it's not as structured as you thought before. It's just that some are more structured than others, but still in UCG it's very good. Yeah, you learn clear thinking and writing, especially with the philosophy courses that really try to teach you to think interdisciplinary and also write it down in a proper way. And that's also what you see if you take courses at the FAB, for example. There's a real clear difference between people that do UCG and know how to operate in a group, know how to write down their thoughts in a coherent way, compared to, this is also a bit overgeneralizing, but this is also generally what I've heard from other people's experience, that there is this quality difference between people in UCG and some other faculties, not only the FAB, but also psychology. Yeah, I mean, another benefit is you build a very strong network in UCG because you work with a lot of motivated students that all are also ambitious and have very big plans for the future. I think it speaks for itself that that's going to create for the future a very good network. And because it's international, it also, I don't know, it gives a nice feeling that you know a person from the USA, you know another person from Italy. It's kind of, yeah, it's just very cool in general to have that, and unique again, something that's not there in any or in every program. Then my favorite parts about UCG. So I really like Frascati for the first year. On the right, there's also a picture of Frascati with me with a horrible thing on my upper lip for November. This was for the Thanksgiving back then. And yeah, that's really also, again, the nice thing about Frascati. You're so close with everybody in your year. And throughout the year in Frascati, you get to know everybody in your year cohort. And it's super easy to exploit your interest. If I want to play tennis, I can send a message in the group chat, and there's always 3 or 4 people back then that were responding, yes, sure, let's go. Or play football or play basketball. You could literally do all of it, or just draw a painting. It was all possible in Frascati. And it's something I'm very grateful that happened, and I think we'll never experience something like that again, that you have so many people of with your same interest in the same building so close to you. Yeah, that's indeed a good question. I see in the chat. Now, after a year, and that's also a very good thing in my opinion, that it's only for a year, and then very naturally you all find places in the city in Groningen, and this is a very natural transition. Most people are think, okay, Frascati is great for a year, but then after that, it's also just good to find your own place, because that's also part of being a student, is just having your own place instead of living in a student complex. So yeah, that's only for a year. So now I'm somewhere else in the city, and because you're in Frascati, which is also, it makes the process of looking for a room a bit more relaxed, because you have a fixed place. You can already start looking in March, April. Gives a lot of margin in between. And because of that, it's more relaxed to find a place, because I can imagine that there may be some students that have seen that it's hard in Groningen to get a room, but with Frascati as a place where you can live and stay till the summer, you can feel at ease, because you'll be looking before the new first years that are then going to come in the summer will arrive. So you're before that looking for spaces, and then generally speaking, it's easier to find a room. Yeah, and also a favorite part of me being in UCG is taking courses of other faculties. It's just nice for me to see how other faculties operate, how they, just the knowledge in general as well. I mean, I take them at the FAB, so I don't know if that's for every faculty very nice, but it's just very good to also see how they actually work at different faculties. And that's also something that if I do psychology or economics, then that's very fixed. You stay in that faculty most of the time and you don't switch in between. And with liberal arts and UCG, that's possible, and it's also normal. So yeah, those are my favorite parts about UCG. Yeah, then we go into a normal week, and this would be my week right now. And on the left, I have very raw with the courses only. I am doing one extra course, econometrics, so it's a bit more than you would normally see, but it's only really 2 hours in here. And as you can see, in a raw way, there is a lot of free space, and this is really how you will experience university. You actually have relatively a lot of free time, but it's up to you what you do with the free time. So on the right, you see, because I'm also part of the Kairos board, and I also do sports in between, and I also have one job as student assistant. It's already getting a bit more packed, and this is kind of how you see how you can again build all of the things that you want to do within within your normal week. So it doesn't need to be that much. I'd say that it's in generally more work than in other faculties, because in UCG you're expected to do weekly work, keep up with the readings, and also talk and discuss what you've read. More seminar-based learning, so you really talk with the teachers, talk with other students, think critically. Because of that, it's generally more work than at other faculties, because you just have to keep up. But there's not a final assessment. That's also a very good part about UCG. There's no assessment that's more than 50% of your grade for a course. And because of that, there's no cramming in the last 2 weeks for your final exam necessarily, because that exam can be more than 50. So you have more midterms, it's just more divided. And that's why it's a bit more work, but it doesn't necessarily feel like it's more work, because you don't get the final 2 weeks just the moment that you cram so much that life is not fun anymore. Basically, that's not part of UCG. Then the best part about UCG, the community. As you can see on the top right, that's the picture of the board this year with me on the top right. And yeah, Kairos is a really important part for UCG, because Kairos is really, it's a study association, and it consists of several committees. From you have Aliolis, which is dedicated to traveling. There's one social committee, cooking committee, art committee. There's a lot of different committees, and they are all there to help the UCG community, so the liberal arts students, with finding their passions and just making fun events. And you can easily become part of it as well. And it's a really empowering feeling to just create an event, make the poster, work together with people, and then just make the events happen, make it a success, and see that people are generally happy with your contribution. Yeah, that's just really nice. And then besides that, we and UCG also created a football team, which is on the top or the bottom right. And every Sunday we play a game. Wednesday we have a training, and this is and it's not only with UCG, so there's not really this bubble, because in our football team there's a lot of other internationals from the whole city coming in. There's generally in training 3 or 4 randoms every time, but it's always good fun to play with. And I'm also part of a tennis association, and that's more more Dutch. You don't necessarily have to write your bachelor thesis within your major. You have a lot of freedom in your bachelor thesis. So I do PPE, but I could, if I really want to, I could also do it more in the humanities sides, or link to psychology, as long as I have a good basis for that and I have enough confidence to write in that area, then it's fine. But you generally have some freedom there. But most people just stick with their major, of course, because it's more easier. Yes. Then my future ambitions. Well, I'm a second year now, and I still have a whole year, but you'll see when you join university that a year feels more like a month. So I'm already thinking a little bit about master programs. At the moment, I am looking at economics and philosophy. There's one in Erasmus, which I am looking at, which is really nice, but I would also love to maybe try to go to London School of Economics or something, be ambitious, just try it out. And I think with the courses I still do, it would be possible for me to reach that, but that's an ambition and that's a goal. And then, yeah, for a future job with my PPE specialization, the opportunities are very broad. I could go into politics or generally business, but research is also a good option for me, because I did a lot of statistics and econometrics within my bachelor. So then research is more of a possibility, and also policy analysis. It's generally still very broad, because I also have no real clue what specific job I would have to do. but these are my ambitions, so I do not have to be very precise. It's still a bit vague. And then yeah, my tips and tricks to survive UCG. So again, be prepared to do a lot of group work. I remember in the first year that there were a couple of students that after a couple of months realized that, yeah, they don't really like group work, and yeah, then you're not really at the right place. So that didn't last very long. Yeah, this is a small specific thing, but knowing how to work with Google Drive, it sounds like something not really essential, but there's really a difference here with people that know how to work with Google Drive and how they work, and people that don't know how to work with Google Drive. And knowing Google Drive is only a matter of making the folders and just structuring everything. And also Google Calendar will be your friend if you use it good and wisely. Then, yeah, this is also a thing. Liberal arts sounds like the degree where people go that don't know what they want to do. But I realized when I think back at it, I think, yeah, okay, that's partly true, but now I'm in it, I actually really think differently about that, because I see just a lot of motivated students that have a lot of different interests and again, don't want to commit to one specific discipline. So it's not a lazy decision to go for UCG, but it's actually the most motivated and curious persons that go for UCG. That's why you can have discussions about economics, but also about deep philosophical topics. You can go in every direction with almost everyone in your year cohort, because everyone is going into a different direction, has a lot of interest, and is generally curious. So that's more how you should look at the liberal arts student, I'd say. Then also take your opportunities. In university, there's a lot of opportunities given to you via the email, via just in general being a UCG student. And at the beginning, everything is a bit overwhelming. So of course, it's not weird to first see how much it is, how much free time you have, just adapting to the life, of course. But then when the opportunities are there and given, you should really try to get as much as possible, because there's really a lot of great opportunities where you can learn a lot from. And it would just be a shame if you end your first year with the feeling that you could have done more, because university at the end of the day is only 3 to 5 years, tops 7, 6. And if you haven't used your time optimally, it's just a shame, because in university it's really all packed in one. It's all the information opportunities, very densely put together only for university students, very exclusive. So it would be a shame if you miss out. Then of course a tip for me is to join Kairos if you become part of liberal arts, because Kairos is just the easiest way to meet people also from the different years. So not only if you're first year that you know your own cohort, but also that you get to know the second and the third year, and that you just become an active member, and that you really feel like you are part of the community, and you create value, whatever that means, with making events, organizing events, and joining events, being a happy person. Then that was my part. I think then Amy will still finish, and then we do some general questions. Is that the way to proceed?
Yes, thank you, Sybe. My Wi-Fi issues have been resolved, I hope. And I hope this will last. So I'll try and pick up where I left off. Although you did do a good job of covering some of the things that I wanted to say, so that's also helpful. So yes, picking up at my not so great artwork, which honestly, it very much so has to do more with the fact that UCG allowed me to figure out that this was something that I was interested in and a possible interest of mine, which I don't think I would have come into contact to otherwise. Another key term about studying at UCG that you might have heard of is small scale. What that means in practice is that the classes are capped, often around 50. As Sybe was saying, as this compares to other faculties, such as the Faculty of Economics and Business. It does also make the teaching expensive compared to the other bachelor programs, but it also makes them a lot more interactive. As Sybe was saying, the emphasis is on assignments instead of really focusing everything on the final exam. Personally, I really like this method of learning because then I find that I'm more engaged over the course and it allows me to stay better on track. Same as Sybe, I have also taken courses at the Faculty of Economics and Business. And I do really notice a difference with the teaching style. The Faculty of Economics and Business, it's a very detached teaching style. The lecturer is speaking to hundreds of students, equally detached. Whereas with UCG courses, along the way, they're willing to help you out. They'll answer questions that you might have. And honestly, part of the reason for that is because you're in such a small classroom, they know you by face, they know you by name, and it makes it a lot easier to ask them questions. Of course, being at UCG is you also have time outside of your classes to engage in lots of activities. So I was also actually on the board of UCG Study Association Kairos a few years before Sybe, but I did really enjoy this experience. It allowed me to better connect with the vibrant community at UCG and also gain some valuable experience as well as make some great friends. It was a bit of work, but I did also find it very rewarding. And of course, I still had more than enough time to complete my UCG courses. What was most interesting for me during this experience was that the project and the communication skills that we'd learned in our first year projects were very applicable to the situation that I was going through. There is also lots of things to do in Groningen outside of the UCG community. Outside of studying and doing stuff at UCG, I've also been on several committees at various associations. As you can see from the pictures here, organized events with local Dutch communities. I've organized a one-day festival. I've organized events with Dutch locals and internationals, which has also been nice for me to meet people from different studies and different backgrounds while still keeping up with my classes at UCG. I also play rugby, which takes up 2 evenings a week, as well as most Sundays. And of course, there's always time for a dinner and drinks or trips with friends. Having a balance between studying and other activities is really important, and as you can tell, studying at UCG means that you have time for all these other activities. As you might remember, I'm a UCG alumna, which means that I graduated in the summer of 2021, as you can see from this picture. I got to wear the gown and I even got to keep the hat. So as I mentioned before, I graduated with the social science specialization, because I took a variety of business courses as well as culture courses and diversity. I feel that UCG has prepared me for life after graduation. Indeed, the variety of courses available at UCG allowed me to gain easy access to my master. Many courses now in my master require group assignments, which I can easily navigate thanks to the skills that I learned at UCG. My soft skills are more developed than my peers. I'm self-aware about my quality goals. I know how to work in groups, and I know how to communicate, and I'm not afraid to participate in class discussions. I also find myself applying skills that I've learned at UCG to other areas of my life. Through the interactive classes at UCG, I've become more confident and comfortable with speaking up. I notice myself at rugby training not being afraid to ask questions when I don't understand something. Through classes that I've taken outside of UCG, such as language courses or courses at other faculties, I find myself being better engaged in the classes than my peers. I'm able to interact with the material in a more active manner than my non-UCG peers. The project-based learning approach from UCG has also served me well this year on the general board that I'm on. Being part of the ESN General Board requires you to come up with projects and activities that you would like to see implemented in the organization. Because I've practiced doing this at UCG, I do not shy away from it in other aspects of my life. I'm also very happy to say that I'm following the Honors Master program alongside my normal master. The Honors Master program is extracurricular and has a big focus on project-based learning, small-scale education, and interdisciplinary courses and personal reflection and development, which are all skills that I acquired during my time at UCG. UCG really allowed me to develop myself academically, but also personally, and I know that I've received a very holistic education that I never would have gotten elsewhere. Also, in the last month, I've started an internship, and I really see that the skills that I developed at UCG in terms of the interpersonal skills, the navigating teamwork, the good understanding of myself is something that's very applicable in the job market. I hope that this short presentation has provided you with some insight on why UCG was the right choice for me, and hopefully it will also be the right choice for you. I see that we now have some questions in the chat, and hopefully we can now answer those. I see that there's a question about group work compared to individual work at UCG. A lot of this has to do with the courses that you take. So when you sign up for courses, you can see how the courses will be graded and evaluated. A lot of them do have nearly always a teamwork component. That doesn't mean that you never do individual work, but you can be relatively certain that there will always be a teamwork component. So I'm thinking of a course that I took, for example, where we had to write 3 short personal essays, and then we all had to organize like a group discussion at the end. So the teamwork component came in with the group discussion, but you still had to produce an individual essay. So there is a balance of both. Let me just run through the questions and we'll see what else we can answer. Just scrolling through it. I see that there's also a question about the master's degree, and given that I'm currently doing the master, I might be the best person to answer this. Laura, it does sometimes happen that you don't get direct access, into a master, but that's not a UCG specific challenge. That's usually if you took, I'm thinking, for example, let's say you did your bachelor's degree in psychology and you want to do your master in physics, then you just haven't created the right profile to get into your master's. And that does happen. It's not a UCG specific problem, but in those cases, pre-masters are a very viable option. But also is for me, for example, when I was in my 3rd year, I might have had to do a pre-master for my current master, and then decided to switch some courses around, take some different courses, which meant that I didn't have to take the pre-master. So the flexibility while still being at UCG meant that I didn't have to take a pre-master. So it's actually one of the more helpful programs in terms of creating what you need for the direction that you want to go into.
I see one question from Victor that asked, can you spend an exchange semester at a university abroad and do an internship as part of the official bachelor program? Yeah, Victor, this is possible. In principle, you could do an exchange semester, and at the same time, during the exchange, you can do an internship at the location. So I know, for example, people that went to Arizona and also did an internship there, but also the exchange. In general, it's a bit harder to combine it with doing an internship in Groningen or in the Netherlands and then also trying exchange. But this has to do because for exchange you get 15 or for exchange you get the 30 ECTs with doing credits at other universities, but for the internship you only get 15 study points, so you also need to do 3 courses besides that, but it is possible.
I see that we also have some questions about Frascati in the chat. Yes, Gianluca, it is a really nice experience to live in Frascati. But for me personally, So I'm slightly more of an introvert, and I do enjoy having my own time and my own space. And despite really cherishing my Frescati experience, I wanted to move into a slightly smaller house because Frescati really is, of course, you do have the option to be on your own and have your own space. I don't know if Sybe has the same experience as me, but having everyone so close really means that you always want to be interacting with people, and it provides a really good platform for that. So sometimes it's nice after that, especially as you're maybe trying to settle your roots down in Groningen a little bit more, maybe trying to try out a few more things. Many people find that living in different houses is sometimes a better option. But of course, UCG, or by studying at UCG, you do have the option to stay there for all 3 years. I have a friend that did that. It just meant that she didn't have to go look for housing. That was one less challenge that she had to figure out. So it's very much so still an option. And in terms of meal plans, no housing, food is not provided at Frescati. You do have to learn how to, yeah. It's an experience. It's part of, moving out of your parents, taking care of yourself. It can also be exciting to learn how to cook with your flatmates. And because your flatmates may come from different countries than you can maybe exchange dishes, learn about different cultures. So that's also really exciting. And Lotte, yes, there are rules about living in Frescati. They will be given to you, but there, of course, you can have people stay over. That's not a problem. I don't know if Sybe wants to add on to his Frescati experience.
No, my Frescati experience was very similar as well. I really liked it for a year, and then you get a very close relationship with the people in your unit, but then after a year, it's also kind of enough for everyone. And then, yeah, it just makes sense for everyone to go out of Frescati and find their own place. It's very natural. And then I see here, as part of the program, are there some built-in projects that can be added to our CV? In general, well, if you make for the project something super huge, super ambitious, then you could possibly add that to your CV. In general, yes.
I'm also thinking, Sybe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's also some projects that you can do with external partners, correct? So you can collaborate with local communities.
Yeah. Yeah, and you could even in or during the program take part in a research internship, for example. If you get close with one of the teachers and you do well in the courses and the teachers like you, then if you're lucky, you get offered a research internship, and then you can work with this teacher on a specific topic, write the research proposal, and that's something for your CV. That is possible.
We also had a very interesting question in the chat. What, in your experience, was the best course that you've taken yet? What would you say to that, Sybe?
Yeah, I saw it, and I was thinking about it for way
Thinking
too long.
about it, I know it's a really hard
no,
question.
but I know actually.
Okay.
Because for the first, it was actually the first course I took at UCG was media and technology. It's still one of the courses that really stuck in my mind, all of the information from that one. What about you, Amy?
I think for me, it was also actually one of my first year courses, Culture the Building Blocks. It really, for me, it was just a very interesting course that looked at how culture develops and how we as humans, grow and have developed and become the social beings that we are today. Honestly, has very little to do with what I'm doing now, but it was such an interesting course, and just having the opportunity to do that and for it to have literally zero repercussions on the direction that I wanted to go in, but just having the opportunity to explore this out of interest. That honestly was one of my best courses. Just very interesting, yeah. And I see also Sankar had a question about extracurricular activities. Extracurricular activities. Yeah, Sybe, do you want to touch on the ones that you've done and how you got into them?
Yeah, that's actually a good one. So I'm now part of the CARIS board. This is something you can apply to at the end of the first year. And in this, You just get a lot of just general board experience. Is trying to learn to work with a non-profit organization, try to run it, try to keep the community alive. You can also take part in the honors program. I'm not part of it, but this is a possibility. This is a program from the university itself, from the RUG, where they offer motivated students some extra coursework. You work with the best teachers of the university, and then you have some very also interdisciplinary topics. This is also a very nice way to go for extracurricular activities. And besides that, you can also do student assistant jobs. So if you have a course that you really like, and the teacher also likes you, you can sometimes at the end of the course send the teacher a message. Yeah, I would be very happy to be a student assistant, and you do more administration work for the course. And if you're lucky, you can even teach a little bit. Yeah, these are some possibilities, but there's a lot possible.
Yeah, I think there's definitely extracurricular stuff that can be done within UCG, and also literally anything that's offered in the city of Groningen is also open to you if it's offered by other faculties, different associations. Like Groningen is a very active student city, and by going to UCG, you also get to make use of that. So yeah, I see we also have another question about Friscati, about cleaning. So I don't know if this has changed since I lived in Friscati, but if I remember correctly, Siba can correct me if I'm wrong, but the bathrooms and kitchens got cleaned once a week, and the hallways as well, which is nice that it gets done once a week. Obviously, if there's like, in my case, there was like 8 of us, it might be good to also have an in-between cleaning schedule. You do have to clean your own room, of course, that's your own responsibility, but the general well-being of the building gets taken care of.
I see one very nice question about if there is an active nightlife in the city. Yeah, well, Groningen is the youngest city in the Netherlands. I think 30%, 25%. I mean, a lot of people here are students. It's one of the, yeah, just what I said, the youngest city. And we have a very big party street. And in general, the nightlife, it shouldn't be a problem in Groningen. There's enough happening here at 3 o'clock even in the evening. And it's very special here compared to the other cities is that the bars have no closing time. It's very notorious, Groningen, for this.
I see we also had some questions about art and design. So maybe Siba and I are not the best people to answer this question because we didn't really go on that track, but I have a friend who took a course. I think it was called, I think the name of the course was Beautiful Bodies. I don't know if that's still a course, but they were looking at how bodies are presented in art and media, like throughout history, and my friend really enjoyed that course. So that's very possible. And of course, art and design can also very much be integrated into your projects. The beauty of the projects is how open and flexible they are. For me, for example, the outcome of my first year project was we wrote a book, we got an illustrator, like we really did a whole thing. I know people that have presented the outcome of their projects as like theaters or shows or dance or songs, or the freedom of creativity within the project really is quite incredible, at least in my experience. Are there any other questions in the chat that we might have missed? We obviously want to answer all of your guys' questions and make this be the best. We've been so active with so many questions that we might have missed some. Extracurricular activities related to music as part of UCG. Do you want to talk about Ucg, Siba?
Well, we have one beautiful committee in Karas, Ucg, and they are now a group, I think, of 30 to 20 people, and they often do these jam sessions in UCG. So they build the cafeteria area into a jam session area, and then in general, it's just good vibes and music. Everybody can play, singing, playing instrument. It's all there, And of course, there's also beyond UCG a lot of possibilities to just go ahead and play with random people. There's just a lot happening music-wise here.
Yeah. Did we find it, or okay, was more to me. Sorry, Sybe. Did I find it hard to move to a foreign country alone at such a young age? Parts that are challenging in the sense that you're exposed to something new, something very new. It's a different country, it's a different language. Your traditional support system, such as your parents, you have less access to, which I get it can be scary. But also remember that a lot of other people in a similar situation as you. UCG has one of the highest percentage of international students compared to the other faculties. And because you're all living in Frascati together, you really are, like, you become each other's family and each other's support network. And because you're all going through this experience together, you can really help each other out. You can also have local Dutch people such as Sybe, who are the type of people to turn to when you're like, oh, how does the municipality work here, and what do I do with my trash, and all of those kind of questions. Very fun questions, sorry, Sybe. But having that interaction between, you coming in as an international and you're on the same level as a local Dutch person, and you get to very easily interact and can help each other out. I found that very nice. And also in the end, I do not regret moving to the Netherlands and, starting something new. Yeah, it was very scary, and I still recognize that it was a scary thing that I did, but it's honestly one of the best things that I've done. I've grown so much. I've had a great time where I'm at in my life now. I don't think I could have imagined what I'm doing now when I was, 16, 17, but I'm having the best time. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy it just as much as I did.
Yeah, I have one question here. Did you find it hard? It's a good question. In my experience, I have the feeling that liberal arts is not really a hard degree, but at the same time, you seamlessly gain a lot of knowledge simply because you have to do work every week. So it's not only the last 2 weeks that you have to exam and then cram it and then forget it. Because you do it very gradually, you actually learn a lot. But at the same time, it all feels very doable and you don't really get overwhelmed that easily. So I'd say it's not a super hard degree. And then, are there any tips to money management? For example, groceries, cleaning supplies, and nights out. Yeah, this is trial and error. The first for most people. For me, it was fine as long as you just in the first couple of months be a bit aware of what you spend and where you spend it on. Keep track in the first couple of months. That's what I did, and then I realized that it was fine, and I didn't really need to worry about my average buying habits.
Laura, your question about what the teachers are like, I think it's hard to answer because it depends on where you're in at high school. So for me, for example, French high school is very hierarchical. The teacher is right, they tell you what to do, and you are just a student and you listen and you take notes. And I came to UCG and it was very collaborative. Everyone was on an even playing field, and freedom to express yourself and communicate, and your opinion matters and people care about what you have to say. From my experience, UCG teachers are kind of on the, not exactly the same, obviously, because they're still the one that grades you and give you assignments, but you're a lot closer to them hierarchically than from my experience back in France. So yeah, it's a different dynamic depending on where you're from. And classes are Monday to Friday so that you can do fun stuff in the weekends or in the evenings, or also if you don't have classes on a day, that's also good time to go do. The first few weeks, do you want to talk about your, let's say, first few weeks at UCG and the Karis introduction week and stuff? I think you're more up to date with that, Sybe, than I am.
Yeah, well, I experienced the whole COVID situation. So for me, there was not really an introduction week. Oh, they tried their best, but it was just very hard to realize for us. But the first few weeks were generally here, just going to the Noorderplatsoen, which is the park in Groningen, with random people every day, with new people from UCG and from Vascadi, getting to know most of the first years then. And then in the first week, you get just an introduction to the program, which is just very chill. How the UCG program works, what kind of course you expect. And then in the second week, you start very slowly with your courses. Um, and then, yeah, at the end of the years, you have the project day, which is a very big day where you present all of your projects. Um, but I've not experienced this because of Corona, actually. So maybe Amy has some.
Yeah, I'm so sorry, Sybe. I threw it your way because I needed to cough, but I forgot about your COVID experience. Yeah, so as Sybe was saying, actually, COVID didn't really take that away, that you are gently led into the program, which to me, given that I had actually started in a different degree and then came to UCG, I found the start of UCG a lot nicer. It was a lot more welcoming than just like you're thrown into a lecture hall one day and they're like, great, you're starting, good luck. So there is the Kairos Introduction Week, which is a really good opportunity to get to know your fellow students. It's a very social bonding moment, just a really nice start. And then after that, you have the Academic Introduction Week, which is slightly more educational focused, but it's an introduction to the program, how the setup works, what your year is going to look like, what you can expect. And that's, yeah, just one more step closer to the program. And then you start with your first week of classes, which, again, first week starts slow, just introduction to the classes, the program, how things work. So you're not thrown in the deep end. It's a gentle start, and I really appreciated that.
I see now there is a question that my Corona expertise can answer. So how much did COVID change your study experience next to all the effects everybody has to go through? Is it different to other universities due to the small scale system? Yeah, because of the small scale system, UCG was a bit earlier allowed to go back into the building, and also later that we had to leave the building. And in bigger faculties, Faculty of Economics and Business, all of the lectures are still online. And they were online already back then, and this is also because it's flexible, mostly. But in UCG, because the small scale system, I mean, it also worked better, I think, online, because in the breakout groups, it was still more interactive than with other courses in other faculties. But yeah, in general, the education level or the quality goes down a bit with COVID, but it's still higher than the rest for sure. And in the end, I actually you get used to it, to the online education as well. Right now, I couldn't do it anymore because I now have only offline lectures, only on campus. But last year I managed to pull through. So with a bit of dedication, it's possible.
Yeah, but definitely what you're saying about the interaction. I think you guys probably at least have experienced one insanely awkward online class where the lecturer asks a question and it's just silence because no one wants to talk. That makes sense. But in my UCG online classes, I found that to be a lot less, because UCG students are more generally better at engaging with the material and being more active. It's easier to still be interactive in an online setting. So I found that switch, yeah, easier in that sense. Is it possible to combine UCG with being part of student associations? Yes, both Sybe and I think have partaken in student associations, so it's feasible. Quick question about the reading weeks. The reading weeks is a more general term. It's a kind of break time in between the end of exams and the start of the next week or the next academic block. Officially, it's meant to give you some time to read the syllabus, to prepare for the class, but very often there are little to no assignments during that week, little to no exams. So it's an unofficial holiday, but you did not hear that from me. And when did we apply? And also, Sybe, did you have to do a motivational video? Because when I applied, it was still at the stage that we didn't have to do the videos. So I'm not the right person to talk about motivational videos. I don't know if you are.
Yeah, well, I got in through the back door, so not really have any experience here. But I'm pretty sure it's still the motivational video, but I don't know if it was from my year.
Okay, what I will say about the motivational videos then is how long are they? I think maybe Marika or Iris can answer this. My brain tells me somewhere around 5 minutes, but they can correct me if I'm wrong. And I think the best thing to do with your motivational video is really, honestly, just present yourself how you see yourself, because that's what matters most, right? If you show who you are and why you're interested in UCG, that's going to be able to show the application committee who you are and you're interested. And it's a good opportunity to check that you're right fit, that it matters to you, that it has to work on both sides. So yeah, present your best self in your motivational video, create something that really represents you, who you are, what you're interested in, and I think that would be fine. How is your experience of chaos and overwhelming, Sybe?
Yeah, this year especially has been a bit chaotic at times, but that's also my own, my own fault in a way, because I committed to a lot of things, so then you also have a lot of responsibilities. I managed to cope pretty well. I don't really experience stress that easily. I do know that there are some other friends of mine that have more problems with this. Um, but yeah, that's also just something that happens in university, because there's going to be these deadlines, these exams. But I've not really experienced many people like collapsing of stress, and it's not that bad. But it's also just that happens with stress. Before the exams, people hype each other up for the exam. They start saying like, oh, it's pretty soon. Oh, I have to work, and then everybody gets stressed from each other saying that they're stressed. So yeah, it's just natural, but that will be fine.
Yeah, and also at UCG, we do have a very good support network. You can talk to your lecturers, you can talk to the study advisor. There's lots of people that you can reach out to if you ever are feeling overwhelmed. I did that at some point when I wasn't managing my time very well. And it was very helpful just to have someone to talk to who can kind of help me figure out where I was at and where I was going. So even if you do reach points of stress and overwhelm, there's also ways out, there's support systems there. We also have a question. Do you find the saying, if you want to experience the American dream, go to the Netherlands to be true? To be fair, I'm not sure what you mean by the American dream. Maybe you can voice that and let us know, or type it in the chat. I also have never been to the US, so find it hard for me to compare the two. I can just say that I've enjoyed my time in the Netherlands so far. I also stayed here for my master. So haven't left yet. They haven't gotten rid of me yet. So really liking it so far, and I do enjoy being here. So that's what I can say in terms of my personal dream is I'm having a good time here. Practical lessons, Danielle, yes. I have a friend who took the slightly more, it's called Health and Life Sciences, I believe, and as part of the Health and Life Science track, you take courses, some actually at the medical faculty, so you do get to do some practical courses there, which does give you the entrance into medicine that you need. Yes.
Yeah, then I see, are the rooms furnished when you move in? There are some basic furniture, so there is a bed, there is a closet, and a desk as well.
The shelves, the desk.
Yeah, shelves, desk.
There's like
This
a
is a
little
memory
armchair as
training.
well,
Yeah,
and a
chair.
lamp, I think.
Yeah, basic lamp, yes.
Yeah.
And besides that, it's all up to you how you furnish it.
Yeah. So if you want, I mean, there is enough to live and to put your stuff on. If you need more shelves, you can buy more shelves. So yeah, the stuff is there. And in terms of changing and decorating, it's standard rental agreements in the sense that, of course, you can change the space, but you do need to return it back to its original status when you leave. So no painting, don't put holes in the walls, those kind of things. But that's standard in rental situations. Do we have any other questions?
I see
Sybe,
one
do you wanna-
question from Vanessa. Do UCG students from different years commonly talk to each other, or well, in my experience right now, the second and third years, they are pretty closely knit together, so we managed to have a pretty good link between them. And also within the first years, it's getting better and better. That's just something because you have classes in the same faculty, and we have a canteen area which is very dense, and everybody walks through there to class. So naturally as well, you'll get to know the people there. You'll get to know one person from a specific group, then you get to know the whole group. But yeah, no, people do talk to each other from all years, and this is also partly due to then Kairos, because Kairos also helps with creating these connections between the years more easily. So that's also really what you see. Students that join Kairos actually have more contacts, with people across different years.
Yeah, 100% in my experience as well. I still talk to this one guy who's like 2-3 years above me. We're still kind of friends. Even though we never took any classes together, but we still ended up like showing up to the same events. We would run into each other in the hallway. We're just good friends. And yeah, compared to some of my friends that did different bachelor's degrees, they're like, I don't know any of the other people that did my degree, especially not in other years. And I never felt that at UCG. And I think that's part of the whole UCG community, is really sharing a space and being able to attend the same events. Just having a very social, interactive place really brings you all together and helps build that community, which is another thing that I really loved and kind of miss about UCG.
How many Kairos events are there per semester? That differs. Right now, COVID situation is over, so there are a lot of events coming up, and then an estimation, maybe 8 to 10 events a block, possibly more. But and then these events range from jam sessions to sock parties to workshops. We had a gnocchi or not gnocchi workshop. Gnocchi workshop, how to make gnocchi, last week. And I know the sports committee is planning to do taekwondo in the UCG building. Very diverse. And this Friday, there's even a laser tag event in the UCG building. So we're rebuilding the whole UCG building into a laser tag field. So that's also going to be very exciting.
Did you know that that's actually a tradition that started in my year? Yeah, so, okay, I think there was a question earlier on about UCG traditions. We've found one. This is apparently one of them.
True.
And do I feel included in by the Dutch students and Dutch communities? Elizabeth, I would say that's up to your personal involvement. Myself, for example, I took quite a bit of Dutch courses. I had a Dutch boyfriend for a while. I had quite a bit of Dutch friends. I joined, my rugby club, there's a lot of Dutch people there. So I did seek out those Dutch opportunities. So if you want to actively integrate into Dutch culture, there's very much so an opportunity to do so. If you want to stay in a slightly more international bubble, that's also possible. It's up to you. And yes, you can learn Dutch at UCG. I myself did so. I'm not going to put it on display for you tonight, but I swear I do speak Dutch, at least a little bit. A question about the exchange semesters. I don't know if you did an exchange, Sybe, but I myself did not, so I cannot answer this question.
Yeah, I'm planning to do one next year.
Okay.
And I can tell that the universities that you can go to, the partner universities with the University College, are not all liberal arts and science colleges. Actually, I think there are not even, maybe there are 3 liberal arts and sciences colleges, one in Dublin and a couple of others, but the rest are just more general universities. There are some that are more into spatial sciences and business, I think. But most of them are just very general, so you would be able to do all of the courses, sociology, business, at all of them. So, do you have to be good in Dutch for everyday life in Groningen? Yeah, no, I have to disappoint. In Groningen and in the Netherlands, everybody speaks English. So I know people that try to learn Dutch, and then and then you start talking Dutch, but you have an accent that's not really Dutch, and then even the hobos here will talk English to you. It's just everybody speaks English in the Netherlands.
Yeah, so in terms of integrating and moving to a new country, the language barrier is one less thing that you have to think about. If you do want to learn Dutch and speak Dutch, it does possibly take a bit more effort than maybe another country. I'm thinking France, for example. The French are notoriously not good at speaking English. So if you were to move to France, you would speak French very fast. My Dutch, on the other hand, moving here has been a slightly slower process because Dutch people are so nice and helpful in English. Ratio of boys to girls in UCG. I think in my year it was possibly 60% women, 40% men. I don't know if you know the statistics from your year, Sybe.
I know it's exactly 30%. So 70% females, 30% boys.
Okay, yeah. And is it easy to find a job besides uni? Do you have a job besides uni, Sybe?
Yeah, well, student assistant, still a job.
Okay, yeah. I also had a job beside UCG, which, because Groningen is such a young city and it has a lot of turnover, it's also quite easy to find a job in that sense, that students are always coming and going and jobs always need to be filled. So if you're looking for a job, there'll probably be one available. Any final questions that we have missed? Yes, send them now in the chat or forever hold your peace. Or don't forever hold your peace. You can also reach out to us via email or on social media if you have any follow-up questions. Okay, back to Iris, I would say then, for some closing words, final remarks.
Yes. Well,